Okay, welcome back to another fun Friday, 100 stitches for the next 100 Fridays. Tonight we're going to learn the cluster stitch. I'll show you what it looks like on this piece that I'm doing here. This is going to end up being a pillow. You can see it makes these little clusters of stitches every so often. It's a 2-row stitch, so you'll see there's a row in here in between the clusters. So between every cluster row there is another row. You're going to start by making a chain, and when you chain it needs to be a multiple of 2. So whether you're going to do 16 and it's something small, or whether you're going to do 60, just make sure that when you chain for your starting piece that it's a multiple of 2. This is a nice dense piece. This works really good for blankets. It's perfect for baby blankets because it's a little bit thicker but it's still soft. For this particular project, I'm back using the H crochet needle, if you can see there. But for my thread, I'll go ahead and show you this. I'm using Classic 1 Value. It's made by Red Heart from Yarn Inspirations. This is a 16 ounce. This is a pound. So it'll make a pretty big blanket. Like I said, mine's going to end up being a pillow. So if you want to work along with me, that's the yarn that I'm using. It's a medium weight, but it is pretty soft. So we'll go ahead and get started here. After you have your first row, you're going to turn on your chain and go single crochet, skip the chain closest to you, the first stitch where your needle is on that chain, and single crochet in the next stitch. Then you're going to skip a chain and then single crochet, then skip a chain, then single crochet. And if you can see right here, that's what I've done, is I've single crocheted here and then skipped a chain, and then single crocheted here and then skipped a chain, single crocheted here, skip a chain. Do that all the way down your chain. So chain your multiple of 2. If you're doing 60, chain 60. Then when you turn in every other stitch, you're going to skip one and then single crochet, and then skip one and then single crochet. When you turn around on that end, you're going to put a single crochet in the end one. That is a good time to change colors. If you're going to change colors on this particular stitch, I am not changing colors on this stitch. I'm doing the whole thing green on this particular pattern that I'm doing. But you can change every row. You can change every 2 rows. You can even do the cluster row in one color and the second row in another color and change every color that way between 2 colors. So whatever you decide to do, it's easier to change colors when you get to the ends. Now, the cluster stitch works in groups of 2, and when you're doing the cluster itself, it's a group of 3. So right here, when you're turning around, you can see I have a chain, and then there's a single crochet, then there's a chain hole there, and a single crochet there. So working in the holes, the chain that you skip right there, in between these 2 single crochets, that's where you're going to work. You're going to do a double crochet into that hole. When you pull through, yarn over and pull through, you're going to do the first part of the double crochet like that, but leave these 2 hoops on your needle. Do not finish the double crochet. You're going to yarn over like you're going to do a second double crochet into that hole, pull it through, finish half of that double crochet, and then leave that hoop on your needle. Now you'll have 3 hoops on your needle. Again, for the third double crochet, yarn over, go in that hole, pull it out, do the first half of the double crochet. Now you've got 4 hoops on your needle. There's your 3 double crochets. You've just done half of each of those stitches. To make them cluster together, you're going to finish out the entire stitch by yarning over and pulling it all the way through. There's your cluster. It makes 1 V on top because it's 1 stitch. It's 1 cluster stitch. So there's the cluster. Then you're going to just chain 1, and you're ready to start the next cluster. There's your single crochet from the row before. So you're going to work into this chain 1 hole. Yarn under, go into that hole, yarn under and pull through, perform half of the double crochet, and leave that hoop on there. Again, yarn under, go into that space, pull through, finish half of the double crochet, leave that one on your hook. Complete the third double crochet into that hole, but again, don't finish the stitch out. There's your 4. Yarn under and pull through all 4. That completes the stitch. You'll have 1 V for 1 stitch, but you'll have a cluster of 3 stitches together. And then just chain 1. You're going to finish the whole row like that, going in those holes where that chain 1 is. It's 3 double crochets. You only half complete them, and you keep them on your needle until you get through all 3 of them. When you have all the hoops on your needles, cluster them all together with 1 complete stitch, and then chain 1 in between. When you turn around, I'm going to go ahead and show you, even though I'm not to the end of my row, you're going to turn around, there's your cluster stitch. You're going to put a double crochet in the very last stitch on the end. You'll have 1 stitch right here that comes out. You'll put a double crochet in there, and then you'll turn. When you turn and you have your double crochet, you're going to single crochet into the first stitch, and that sets you up for this part right here. So I'm going to show you here. You're going to single crochet and chain 1. You're going to look for the next hole between the next cluster, go in, single crochet, chain 1, look for the next cluster, go in between them, oops, picked up that extra stitch, single crochet into that next hole and chain 1. In between the next 2 clusters, single crochet, chain 1, all the way back down to your row. You end the row with a single crochet in the very end stitch before you turn, and chain 3 to go back and start the clusters. So that gives you that row in between. It sets you up to do the cluster again, because every other stitch in that chain you're going to cluster. There's your single crochet, you skip that, you cluster into that chain, single crochet, skip that, cluster into that chain, just like we did down here. And you just repeat those 2 rows over and over and over and over and over, and it'll look something like that once you're done. You'll have a cluster row every other one, and you'll have that single crochet base in between every cluster. So if you need to watch this multiple times, feel free to do that. If you have any questions, let me know, message or comment on the video. This is the cluster stitch. It can be used for pretty much anything. You can make clothes, you can make little pants, you could use it for that, vest or shirts, but one of the things that it is most used for is baby blankets, because like I said, it's nice and dense, and it's a really good foundation stitch. So I hope you guys enjoy the cluster stitch. I hope this was informational for you and you learned something new. Comment any questions that you want, and I hope you have a happy week in crocheting. We'll see you next time.